Asaph shifts from petition to question. He does not soften the language. O Lord God of hosts, how long wilt thou be angry against the prayer of thy people? Psalm 80, verse 4. The question itself is striking. Asaph does not ask how long God will be angry against Israel's sin. He asks how long God will be angry against Israel's prayer. The people are praying, and God's anger continues burning. This is not the silence of an absent God. This is the sustained displeasure of a God who hears every word and remains displeased. Asaph uses the covenant name Lord, the name God revealed to Moses at the burning bush. He addresses God by the name that carries all the weight of the Exodus, the wilderness, and the promised land. The name that belongs to the God who made binding promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Asaph presses this name against God's ongoing anger and asks how long the two can coexist. The question carries no accusation. Asaph does not claim Israel is innocent. He has already acknowledged their covenant-breaking earlier in the psalm. But he recognizes a tension between God's anger and God's covenant character, and he brings that tension to God in prayer. He asks God to see it too. Thou feedest them with the bread of tears, and givest them tears to drink in great measure. Psalm 80, verse 5. Asaph shifts from question to description. He describes God as the one feeding Israel its own grief, the bread of tears, tears as the daily provision. This is not accidental suffering. Asaph attributes Israel's sorrow to God's hand, recognizing that the nation's affliction operates under divine governance rather than enemy power alone. The image carries force because it inverts the normal language of God's provision. God who fed Israel manna in the wilderness, who opened the rock and gave them water, is the same hand that disciplines. Asaph adds, in great measure. The grief is not rationed. It comes in full portions. Israel does not receive a small cup of sorrow. God gives them tears to drink, the full weight of covenant discipline without reduction. This language echoes Isaiah 40, verse 2, where God declares, Jerusalem has received double for all her sins from his hand. Discipline proportional to the depth of the covenant violation. Asaph sees the same principle operating and names it before God. Thou makest us a strife unto our neighbors, and our enemies laugh among themselves. Psalm 80, verse 6. The third image moves from inward grief to outward shame. God has made Israel an object of contention among neighboring nations. The word for strife carries the meaning of quarrel or dispute, suggesting the surrounding nations argue over Israel's ruins, dividing the spoils and debating the terms of her defeat. The enemies do not mourn Israel's fall. They laugh, not the laughter of surprise, but the laughter of contempt. The same mockery Asaph described in Psalm 79, where the surrounding nations heap scorn and derision on God's people. Israel, once the nation through whom God showed his power before Pharaoh, now serves as the punchline of her neighbors' conversations. Asaph places all three images before God without resolution: the unanswered prayer, the daily bread of tears, and the enemies laughing in their counsels. He does not rush past suffering toward comfort. He holds each image up and lets God see it. The three verses together form a single argument. God's anger is sustained. God's people are shamed before the nations. Asaph presents this not as a complaint, but as evidence, pressing the full weight of Israel's condition into God's sight.